We came to Bergen-Belsen, the doors opened, the dogs again, the guards again. We were separated into units that would fill a barrack. One of the people in the barrack was a Rabbi Simon Dusberg from Groningen in Amsterdam.
We were living in Groningen. It's a town in the Netherlands. And my father was the chief rabbi there. He was not only very busy in the synagogue, but he was also very involved with everything in Jewish life.
He continued being the rabbi of the people in the camp. And one day he came to me and said, "You're going on 13, do you want to become a bar mitzvah boy?" I said, "Yes, but how?" He said, "Well, I'm going to teach you if you're willing." Every morning at 4 o'clock he woke me up and took me down to the table, opened up a little Torah scroll, and we used to study from it. He smuggled it into the camp and kept it with him, hidden. One morning he said, "Well, the time has come." He had arranged everything. All the windows were shut off with blankets. There was a blanket on the table and the Torah scroll open waiting for me. A bunch of people were waiting there too, and he conducted a service, a real service. And when I almost got to the stage where I should read, there was a sudden knock on the door. Everybody froze. The rabbi went to the door and opened it, and there was my mother. It turned out that the rabbi found out where my mother was, and so they'd smuggled my mother from camp to camp. I ran up to her, and we were all here crying, and so of course. I went back to the table, I read my Torah portion, I spoke my bar mitzvah speech. After a ceremony was completed, somebody gave me one little cube of chocolate. The rabbi took me aside and said, "I am probably not going to come out of here alive. That is why I want you to have this. You must promise me that you will tell the story. What happened here?" And he pressed this box into my hands, and I looked at him and he said, "Okay, I promise."
My father died 2 days after my mother, on the 24th of February, 1945.
An Israeli astronaut and a payload of Israeli instruments will fly on a space shuttle mission next year.
Ilan came to visit me many times. One time after dinner, we went to my office, to my study, and while we were talking, his eye just moved and fell on a little ark that was standing on top of my bookshelves. And he stopped, he said, "Well, what's that doing here?" And I told him the story about the little Torah and how it got into this ark. And he was totally quiet while I told the story. Ilan got up and paced the room back and forth, and he said, "Yoya, I must tell you something. My mother and grandmother are graduates of Auschwitz. I would like to ask you to give me this little Torah to take to space."
וזהו ספר תורה קטן, כמו שאתם רואים, שלפני בערך 60 שנה ילד קטן במחנה ההשמדה ברגן-בלזן קיבל אותו מהרב של אמסטרדם, שלימד אותו לקראת הבר מצווה.
There was Ilan. There we saw him holding the Torah scroll. For a minute, it escaped from his hand and kind of floated, and he caught it.
אני חשבתי שזה דרישת שלום מן השמיים. סימן חיים מן העבר.
ומאוד מתרגש לאחוז אותו פה בחלל, ואני חושב שזה מייצג יותר מכל את היכולת של העם היהודי לשרוד למרות כל דבר.
Finally fulfilled my promise to Rabbi Simon Dasberg in a way I which I would never have thought it would be possible.
Columbia, Houston, comm check.
Fido, when are you expecting tracking?
1 minute ago, flight.
Columbia, Houston, UHF comm check.
Fido, do you have any tracking?
No, sir. Rescue Coordination Center is mobilizing to that area, and they're seeing what they can do to help us.
Copy.
You're watching the CBS News special report.
And Bowie, and something just cracked on the sky and shook the ground.
Columbia had 7 astronauts on board, including 6 Americans and 1 Israeli.